Part 81. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 803. Before receiving Lu Feng's order to rest, these soldiers were not allowed to quietly run over and be lazy. They would be watched closely until they finished the race. This training made these soldiers of the Song dynasty very tired. Although they barely managed to finish the whole race, when everyone returned to the military camp in the end, they collapsed on the ground and could not move. While Guan Yu was waiting in the military camp, he had already arranged for Chinese medicine doctors to wait here. Each military camp has more than 10 Chinese medicine doctors. These people are responsible for ensuring the health of the soldiers, so they are established military doctors. It's just that because this military camp has never been on the battlefield, these military doctors have not shown their role at all. Everyone goes outside privately to take care of others and practice their own medical skills. Doctors also need to practice diligently. If they do not treat other people for a long time, they will forget the knowledge they have learned. You must know that doctors in this era are very responsible and will give everything they have to save patients. So in order to prevent their medical skills from declining, after everyone in these military camps leaves, they will go outside to treat other people for free. Anyway, the military doctors in the military camps are paid every month, and they are not anxious to collect money from others. Today, when Guan Yu suddenly sent people to call him back, these military doctors were surprised for a long time. They thought that there was no one in need of treatment in the military camp where they were. But when they returned to the military camp, everyone around them was lying on the ground, which shocked them. They thought someone had come to the outskirts of Beijing. They hurriedly went forward to check the pulses of others. Fortunately, after checking the pulses of these people, they found that there was no problem. It was just that their heartbeats were accelerated due to strenuous exercise. General Guan, may I ask what is going on? Why are you calling us back so urgently? The military doctors knew Guan Yu's name in a short period of time, so they are now able to talk to Guan Yu normally. It's because the soldiers have no problems now, so they feel that they have no role here. It's very strange, and they turn around and ask Guan Yu, why did you ask them to come back? This person has to undergo a lot of training recently. During the training process, if there is any accident that causes physical problems, you will need to rescue them. Guan Yu said frankly that these people will undergo devil training next. If there are no doctors watching, these Song soldiers will be really useless if they cannot get timely help when an accident occurs. Training. This is the first time we have heard that these people actually have to train. We have been here for more than a year and have never seen them train for a day. Do we really need to be here? The military doctors were very surprised, because they had never formally checked the pulse of these soldiers. After all, there was no point in seeing a doctor for soldiers who did not even go out for morning exercises. Guan Yu patiently explained to these military doctors and told them that from now on changes began to occur today. Only then can the military doctors understand that it is meaningful for them to come here. Since General Guan has said so, we will stay here and wait and see. If necessary, we can help at any time. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 804. With the help of these military doctors, Guan Yu can feel more at ease. Lu Feng has long said this. If the soldiers of the Song dynasty obey the orders, there is no need to die. The military doctors can also prevent accidents from happening. However, it can be seen from this 50-kilometer run that although these soldiers of the Song dynasty did not get the exercise they deserved, their physical fitness was pretty good. After the 50-kilometer run, no one felt any physical discomfort. They just fell to the ground because they were too exhausted and found it difficult to move. I'm afraid their whole bodies will be sore when they go to bed tonight. Your first mission today has been completed. Go back to the military camp and rest. Lu Feng looked at the chaotic soldiers and did not punish them severely. Instead, he asked them to go back to their respective camps to rest. In fact, he had other plans tonight. The panting soldiers of the Song dynasty had no physical strength. After answering Lu Feng's question, they could only reluctantly try to make a sound, but found that their throats could not make a sound anyway. Lu Feng did not embarrass them, but rode towards the place where he should live. When Guan Yu stayed in the military camp, he had already rebuilt the tent, which could be used as a place for Lu Feng to rest temporarily. When night fell, Lu Feng did not tell anyone, but took Guan Yu and Huang Zhong with him. With 50 Longwu soldiers behind him, he came to the military camp where the soldiers were resting. He looked at the sleeping soldiers and heard their snores due to their deep sleep. He felt that the time had just come. He waved his hand in the direction of the military camp. The long martial soldier behind him took the torch in his hand and stepped forward to light all the tents in front. These tents were all made of cloth, so they burned quickly. Under such a commotion, the long martial soldier also the gong was being beaten on the side, and the loud noise and fierce fire immediately tormented all the soldiers of the Song dynasty. They woke up before the fire even burned them, and what they saw was the terrifying flames. These soldiers of the Song dynasty screamed in fear and ran out of the burning tent without even having time to put on their clothes. They looked around in horror, but found that they were already in a sea of a euro fire. They were confused and wanted to. After running to another open space, they realized that the water convoy had already arrived to put out the fire. However, no one of them went to notify the water convoy in the city. In other words, someone had already arranged the water convoy to put out the fire. At this time, they only then did they realize that the only person with such ability was General Ping Chuan, who had just arrived here. They immediately got angry, and everyone gathered around. They were very angry when they saw Lu Feng riding on a tall horse. "You bastard, do you want to kill us? He actually set fire to us. I am the son of the minister, and you actually dare to treat me like this. Do you believe that I will ask my father to file a memorial to impeach you? Forget about running around during the day, now you actually want to burn me to death? You are not worthy of being our general at all. Get off your horse and get up right away. If you have the ability, come down and challenge me. You bastard. Either you die or I die today. I will never let you go. Get over here. The outbreak is about to begin. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 805. These soldiers were extremely angry. In their eyes, what Lu Feng was doing now was to kill them. None of these people wanted to die, so of course they would be extremely angry. Seeing that a mutiny seemed about to happen. If the enemy attacked you at this time, you would be dead now. Do you think you would still have a chance to stand here and talk to me? Lu Feng sneered, pretending that he didn't see their anger at all. His indifferent way of dealing with them made these soldiers even more angry, feeling that they were not a human life in his eyes. These people wanted to rush up and argue with Lu Feng. However, it was not until this moment that I realized that because I was too panicked, I was only wearing a pair of pants, not to mention armor, and I didn't trademark T even take out my weapons. I could only choose to fight Lu Feng with my bare hands, but behind Lu Feng the dragon warriors were not just decorations. When they saw them making moves, they had already pulled out the weapons in their hands. The cold weapons frightened these soldiers, and they calmed down in an instant. No one wants to die like this. Let me tell you, I don't care who you are, General Ping Chuan. If you dare to touch me, then you will be in trouble. Tomorrow, His Majesty the Emperor will issue an order so that you can no longer show off your power here. One of the people who said that he was the son of the minister had been provoking Lu Feng, angrily threatening Lu Feng, saying that he was dead, and his determination seemed to be true. But how could a mere minister really do this? To influence the emperor's judgment, this only proves that there must be some unspeakable relationship between the minister and Geosideo. Obviously they are working together, and this brat accidentally exposed the pie transaction between their families. If they let his father knew that he might be able to beat his son to death, Lu Feng would not care about the affairs of the court. He knew that although Song Litsong would be influenced by Geosideo, the situation this time was completely different. For all his actions, Song Litsong would never dare to say a word no. It seems that you think you will not be punished for violating military regulations, right? Lu Feng's sudden words shocked him. He had not forgotten that during the day, even the son of a second-grade official died without even farting. Chen Lian, stop talking. Do you want to die? The other brothers quickly pulled him and asked him to continue talking. If he is like the man during the day, his death will not be worth it. So please give us a reasonable explanation, General Hirakawa, why do you want to kill us? Chen Lian swallowed. He was no longer as angry as before, because the fear in his heart made him retreat. But he still couldn't figure out why Lu Feng, their leader, set fire to them in the middle of the night. Woolen cloth? This is also part of the training, and it is my training for you. Now everyone will form a team immediately and build a brand new military camp. Your previous military camp is simply the best model for the burning company. If such garbage fortifications appear again in the future, just give me 2 trips to the outskirts of Beijing. Lu Feng yelled angrily. Training while sleeping is also a very important part. Modern soldiers are also so strict. 3 Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 806. You must know that the enemy will never appear when you are fully prepared. Only by being able to deal with the enemy when you are at your worst can you prove your strength. Nowadays, these soldiers are undergoing the most scientific training under the leadership of Lu Feng. After running 50 kilometers during the day, these people had rested for more than 5 hours. For the soldiers, this time was enough. It happened to force them to wake up when they were asleep after a tiring day, so that they could have a better understanding of the crisis. Processing ability is also an excellent way to exercise. And starting from today, these soldiers of the Song dynasty also began to understand that no matter how critical the moment is, they must have the ability to think calmly. Otherwise, there would be situations like today where they would run out in a panic without even putting on their clothes. The moment they came out of the military camp, they were already declared dead. What's more, because they were stationed near the outskirts of Beijing, they believed there was no danger, so the distribution of the camps was very unreasonable, almost crowded together. Just like what Lu Feng did just now, he just asked Longwu soldiers to set fire to the front tent, and the entire military camp burned. It can be seen that if someone uses fire attacks, then the scene is the best example of a fire company. Even for safety reasons, these people had to dismantle all the tents and build them again. These soldiers had no way to refute what Lu Feng said, because they were all children of aristocratic families, so they had certain cultural knowledge. Many of them had even read military books, so they naturally knew what potential dangers there were in the military camp. Just because I didn't think there was any threat, no one paid attention to it. Now that someone had poked out the painful area in front of them, they naturally had nothing to say and could only turn around obediently and prepare to rebuild. Although the sleeping area had been burned down, there was no problem with the warehouse used as a reserve. They obediently went to the warehouse to take out their armor, put it on and began to build the camp. Many people who were originally unconvinced had nothing to say after hearing Lu Feng's answer. They could only follow their brothers to rebuild the military camp. As the supervisor, Lu Feng told Huang Zhong and Guan Yu not to be polite. If these people were lazy and did not build the new military camp before dawn, then each of them would be fined 20 military sticks. He went back to sleep and waited until dawn the next day to inspect again. As for how to establish the new military camp, Lu Feng did not need to explain specifically. Huang Zhong and Guan Yu, two commander-level figures, also knew what to do. Daybreak. After Lu Feng had a comfortable breakfast, he came to the vicinity of the military camp to check. He rode around in a circle and found that all the fortifications had been built. In such an emergency, the soldiers of the Song dynasty who had been tired all night were a little dull-eyed. Now they were tired and hungry, and they were very eager to take in food. But it was obvious that Lu Feng did not intend to give them food or water. It is when they are at the stage where they are tired and hungry that they need to undergo intense training again, so that they can break through themselves and become stronger at such a limit moment. Soon they were all called up again to form in phalanx formation. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 807. Before the soldiers of the Song dynasty could recover, they were once again arranged by Lu Feng to do other things, and this time Lu Feng wanted them to experience what death is. There is a mountain heading west on the outskirts of Beijing. This mountain has not been occupied by anyone because there are many wild animals in it. The emperor once sealed this mountain as a hunting area. But it is precisely because the emperor used this place as a hunting place that many civilians could not get close to it, which allowed animals and plants nearby to grow wild. But in fact, the emperor only came here less than once a year. Gradually, this place was no longer guarded by the Forbidden Army, and the people began to forget that there was such a place. Lu Feng planned to let these people carry no weapons, just wear clothes and go into the mountains for a field training, let them conduct a survival training in the wild, and divide them into groups of 6. Then he asked others to seal the mountain, and no one was allowed to escape privately, thus forcing them to practice in the mountain. Lu Feng, who had all the military power, planned to mobilize the garrison. These garrison troops are also called reserve troops, which means that when other military camps have been transferred and there are no soldiers available in the future, they will be pulled out individually to serve as guards. However, this method of classification was only used during the Litsong dynasty of Song dynasty. Each emperor had different policies after he ascended the throne. Song Litsong inherited the shortcomings of the army left by the previous emperors, but never thought about reform, which led to redundancy in the army. However, the emperors after him eliminated all these armies. Perhaps for some emperors, even he himself could not tell how many people from the military camp he had on hand. Huang Zhong had already left Lu Feng at this time. He took the order to reserve the army's position and mobilized 3 military camps to become the guards of Fengshan. As for these soldiers of the Song dynasty stationed in the suburbs of Beijing, they did not know about this at all. They were simply taken to the mountain by Lu Feng, and then watched Lu Feng go down the mountain. "Hey, what does this mean? What are you doing throwing us on a mountain? They didn't even give us a sword." "I don't know, but we are very tired and hungry now," Chen Lian roared. They didn't understand what Lu Feng meant at all. They just felt that they were tired and hungry. After running more than 20 kilometers and coming to this mountain, they still couldn't get anything. It was very angry. "From today on, you all have to live on this mountain. I will not allow you to go down the mountain after 7 days. Before that, you don't a Euro trademark T want to get any drop of water or a piece of meat from me. You will live in groups of 6 and go down the mountain." At that time, he took his team to my place to report. Lu Feng waved his hand, and Guan Yu stepped forward to explain. With a powerful roar, everyone could hear the order. The soldiers of the Song dynasty were very confused. Why were they suddenly allowed to go to the wild camping? And everyone is not allowed to engage in group activities and can only be separated in small groups. And they are strictly prohibited from going down the mountain and are not given anything? Are they allowed to self-destruct on the mountain? Are you kidding? We don't a Euro trademark T even have weapons, how can we survive? Chen Lian was almost furious and shouted. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 808. People will only break through their boundaries when they are pushed to their limits. The soldiers of the Song dynasty who survived in the wild had no help and lacked food and water. They can only find ways to get things by themselves to ensure their survival, and letting them survive in the wild alone and only conduct individual soldier training is not enough for the current soldiers of the Song dynasty. Only by dividing them into a small number of people can they fully play their role, allowing them to develop a sense of teamwork while exercising individually. But now they are forced into a desperate situation, and there is no way to take a step forward. The reserve army who has received the order will use the weapons in their hands to fight against them. In desperation, they could only quickly form a team and turned back to the mountain. For these people, 7 days has an extremely high mortality rate. Maybe there are 20,000 people entering the mountain now, but not even 10,000 people by the time they come down. Human nature must be tested. Those who can survive even such desperate situations are the ones who can truly be called strong on the battlefield. Lu Feng had nothing to worry about these people. As soldiers of the Song dynasty, they had undergone a certain degree of training. It was impossible for them to survive in the wild for 7 days before they died. If they died, it would only mean that they were not strong enough. When he came to the foot of the mountain again 7 days later, the death toll did exist, but it was less than he expected. A total of 609 people died. The lives of tens of thousands of soldiers are not in danger. They have all received considerable training, but now they look very embarrassed. There is no skin on their bodies that is good, and there is no place that is not dirty. But their eyes have completely changed. They are no longer as cowardly as before. Although the eyes looking at Lu Feng are still full of fear, they also have a wolfish look. They just couldn't imagine that Lu Feng actually dared to throw them into the deep mountains and old forests, and then never cared about them again, and made it so high that no one could send food or water in. Many people who just wanted to enter the military camp and hang out could hardly hold on the second day, and on the third day there was civil strife in the group. Many people want to escape secretly, but because Fengshan's reserve army usually trains very actively, it is easy to deal with these people who have not trained for a long time. The final result is that they cannot escape at all, and those who have no strength, or those who want to hang out in the military camp, will eventually be eliminated. Until now, the mountain closure was finally lifted and they were able to help each other down the mountain. When they saw Lu Feng safe and sound, they all felt itchy with hatred, but there was nothing they could do. You must know that during these 7 days, countless of them were secretly cursing Lu Feng. Even if they stuffed their teeth while drinking water, they could satisfy their desire for revenge. Of course Lu Feng knew all this, but he did not give these soldiers a chance to rest. Instead, he asked them to form a team immediately and crawl back to the military camp. Chen Lian yelled, "You abandoned us in the deep mountains and old forests, and now you want us to crawl back. You just want to insult us. I will never do this. If you have the ability, kill me right here." Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 809. Chen Lian's attitude is also the attitude of most of the soldiers here. They think that they have received very devilish training, but Lu Feng obviously has no intention of letting them go, and now orders them to crawl back to the military camp. In this era, men must stand firmly between heaven and earth. This order for them to lie down makes them feel insulted. There is a piece of mud in front of you. It rained yesterday and it was very humid. It is just enough for you to wash the stains on your body. Everyone must crawl back to the military camp through that piece of mud. If you don't want to do this, you can do it now. Died. As Lu Feng said these words, the dragon warriors behind him all drew out their swords. Their cold murderous aura scared the soldiers back several steps. They had never encountered such a situation before. A team was arranged neatly, and the movements were also the same. They were uniformly murderous and cold, as if they were real. Just a look made them feel that they were no match at all. They wanted to be captured without mercy, but they didn't even have the courage to confront them head-on. How did they know that such a team in Lu Feng's hands was not the strongest, but it was ridiculously strong compared to them? Although these people said they were powerful, it was actually impossible for them to be willing to die. When they saw when his life was threatened, he immediately chose to retreat, lay down on the ground, and crawled towards the mud pit. Chen Lian choked a mouthful of old blood in his chest and felt panicked, but he had no choice but to just rely on he can't achieve anything by himself, and no one behind him is willing to follow him in a head-on confrontation. After all, most people in the military camp have a mentality of not wanting to make friends with a second-generation official like Chen Lian. Most of those who come to join the army and decide to join the army are from grassroots backgrounds. Many of them have no other choice, so they can only choose to join the army so that they can survive. For Chen Lian, who was rejected by his family, it is difficult for people who are trained by others to be brothers. This Chen Lian is pretty good. Although he is a bit irritated, he is very stubborn. We will see if he is a malleable talent and may become a general in an army. Although Chen Lian is like a bully and always has to refute whatever Lu Feng says, he has profound military knowledge, and he has always taken it very seriously when training in the military camp. It can be seen that he can become a general in the future. Your Majesty, that's what the young master said. Huang Zhong followed Lu Feng and glanced at the man named Chen Lian. He was indeed a person who could look forward to the future, but he almost made the same mistake as Dian Wei. He blurted out the name and almost exposed it. Own identity. As for that person, if he has not made any big mistakes, then he will be treated more harshly, but that does not mean that he can be allowed to act recklessly. Famous teachers produce great disciples, so we must be stricter with certain people. It is not an easy task to train them. Huang Zhong nodded, knowing what to do. Don't let me catch your sore feet, otherwise, I will definitely let you know what life is worse than death. Chen Lian snorted angrily. 3 Kingdoms, I have a job transfer palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 810. The soldiers of the Song dynasty who were crawling behind Lu Feng and their tall horses were full of resentment, but none of them dared to speak out. After all, the dragon warriors around them were not easy to deal with. I mean, Chen Lian, isn't he still thinking about how to deal with General Ping Chuan? I advise you not to continue like this. Maybe one day the general will get really angry and kill you directly. Even if your biological father comes, there will be nothing you can do. Chen Lian and He Shuo crawled beside him, trying to persuade him not to get into trouble. The son of a dignified second-rank official was killed when he was killed. He didn't even dare to fart. He was just a minister, but he is the son of a fourth-rank official. How could he possibly defeat General Ping Chuan? He Shuo is right. For the sake of us growing up together, we kindly remind you that if you continue to go against the general like this, one day you will be dragged out and beheaded. We will never do it for you. You begged for mercy. Another friend Zhong Kui also joined the chat team. If they are fast enough to go back with the large army, they will not be caught alone by Long Wushu and teach them a lesson. Come on, I never counted on you two. Fortunately, you two are just like me. You are both the sons of court officials. Why don't you have any backbone? Your Majesty made a wrong decision. As subjects of the Song dynasty, we not only failed to help His Majesty reverse his mistakes, but also allowed them to develop. Is this what loyal and patriotic people should do? Chen Lian was very unconvinced. In his eyes, he should have certain responsibilities for the country, so he had to pull Lu Feng down if he didn't like Lu Feng. This is not national hatred at all. This is your personal grudge. Don't talk so high-minded. We grew up with you. How can we not know what you are thinking? He Shuo rolled his eyes. They grew up together. The three of them are all bad. Since they were young, they have taken out birds' nests, smashed other people's windows, and peeked at their daughter-in-law taking a bath. Is there anything they don't dare to do? Things were even more arrogant because his family members were important members of the court. Even Jing Ziyin had a headache for these playboys. Every time they did something wrong, the common people came to Jing Ziyin to report it. At that time, Jing Ziyin could only lead his troops out and take them away severely in front of everyone. In fact, after returning to the mansion, he gently put them down and let them go with a few casual words. This also led to, as these dandy boys become more and more arrogant and unscrupulous, they have done everything except robbing civilian girls in broad daylight. However, after all, Yingtian Mansion is at the feet of the emperor, and they do not dare to go too far. So ETA Euro trademark S just a little sneaky thing. Huang's Honga Euro trademark S ears are very good, so although the three people were chatting to themselves, he still clearly heard what he heard. Young master, Chen Lian seems to be planning a prank with his friends. Should I scold them now? Let them continue talking, and when they actually do something, arrest them and punish them properly. Huang Zhong heard the content of their conversation and knew that they were discussing playing a prank on Lu Feng, so he could only come over and ask Lu Feng if he would take action now before taking action. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 811. Lu Feng looked back and saw three people lying on the ground walking slowly. It was obvious from a glance that these three people had grown up together. Their sneaky looks showed the tacit understanding between them. The communication between the little eyes is also very tacit. It can be seen that if they want to play a prank on each other, they only need one look to know what the other person wants to do. Don't pay too much attention to what these three people want to do. They are just to find a group of thugs who are willing to follow them, find a suitable moment, and want to kidnap me, or put a knife on my neck. Lu Feng smiled and shook his head. It was easy to guess what these three people were thinking. After all, they had no actual combat experience, and all their theories could only be found in books. Talking on paper is the most stupid and fatal thing. You must know the Warring States period. During that period, there was a man named Zhao Kuo, who was defeated because he only knew how to fight on paper. Not only did he fail, but he also became the object of everyone a Euro trademark S laughter in the history books of later generations. These three people now seem to be trying to the three Zhao Kuos who became the Song dynasty may have to rely on Lu Feng to order them to deliberately let them in. Otherwise, these people will not even be able to approach their own tents. Yes, sir. Of course Huang Zhong had no objections to this. After he nodded, he turned back and told the Longwu soldiers below that they should not be as vigilant as before until late at night. There are three people who can let them in. Lu Feng will come back later. After arriving at the military camp, they did not force these soldiers to do other things. They were allowed to take a good bath and eat in the military camp, and they were also allowed to rest normally at night. The sudden tenderness made those soldiers very uncomfortable. After eating and drinking at night, they slept very restlessly. They even made an appointment with their partners to take turns to keep watch at night. Now, they have become very wary of all Lu Feng's orders. After all, no one knows what kind of cruel training was behind this order. When they were alert, they didn't know that three of their companions were quietly approaching Lu Feng's camp, and the three of them were holding very special herbs in their hands. This herb has no other effects. Its only use is that it can attract a large number of mosquitoes, and these mosquitoes must be poisonous and not fatal, but once it is normal for humans to itch for a day if they are bitten. They the three quietly talked to each other, no one spoke, and they just used gestures to signal. Long Liuzu, who had already known their existence in the darkness, did not take action, but kept staring at them until they approached Lu Feng's camp. And then took out the rope in his hand. The three of them looked around, and under the moonlight, they saw clearly that it was Chen Lian who came here with his two little ones, wanting to play a prank. They didn't dare to actually do something, but they dared to use some things to trick others. They sneaked in quietly. There were no candles in the tent. In the dark environment, they could only barely see a bed on the right side, and the loud sound snoring came from the bed. Because of the snoring sound, they concluded that it was Lu Feng, who was sleeping soundly. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 812. Chen Lian had a proud look on his face. He thought he had finally caught the moment when Lu Feng relaxed his vigilance. He couldn't wait to put the herbs in his hand next to Lu Feng, so that he could be contaminated with these herbs when he slept at night, causing mosquito bites. The two kids next to him were trembling now. They didn't expect that Chen Lian actually dared to do this. They were afraid of being discovered the whole way they followed. If this thing wasn't so exciting, they would have wanted to risk revenge. Lu Feng, who has been torturing them for the past 2 days, probably won't follow them. But before they could put the herbs on Lu Feng's bed, a pair of strong hands grabbed them. Before they could react, other people appeared, and these people tied them up very neatly. Got up. Chen Lian and the other three were about to give birth and shouted for help, but then their mouths were blocked by something unknown. An unpleasant smell came from their mouths, making them sick and want to vomit. However, because the blockage was too strong, they can't spit anything out. They tried to use their tongues to push the thing out, but then the people standing next to them seemed to realize what they meant. A wide strip of cloth came out of nowhere and just tied their mouths and beat them on the back of their heads. A dead knot, and now there is absolutely no way to free his mouth. Someone finally lit a candle in the darkness. Lu Feng was sitting on the bed dressed in casual clothes. It turned out that he had not taken off his clothes to sleep in the first place, but was waiting quietly in place, snoring on purpose, just to make Chen Lian and others relax their vigilance. But by the time Chen Lian and the others finally saw all this clearly, it was already too late. Long Liuzu, Huang Zhong, and Guan Yu were standing next to them, wearing armor and standing ready. Obviously, they were ready to arrest the three of them from the beginning, but they just acted out a show of inviting you into the urn together. You three are really stupid. You don't want to think about how I can let you get close to my tent. Even if you are close, you just dare to use these herbs to play pranks. Even a 5-year-old child is more courageous than you. If you can bring a knife over and put it on my neck, I can still say hello to you. Look at you now, it's ridiculous. Lu Feng shook his head and was very disappointed with them. He originally thought that these people could be more courageous, so they simply used cold weapons to attack or assassinate him at night. Who knew that these three people did not have such courage at all, and could only thinking of using the simplest way to get a little revenge on Lu Feng? How could Lu Feng afford such a method that only little kids could do? But you must pay a price for what you did today, and I will let you know soon what you will face next. Lu Feng did not give the three of them a chance to speak. Instead, he waved his hand and asked Guan Yu and Huang Zhong to take them out. Then he asked all the other sleeping soldiers to get up and form a square formation again. And those soldiers they were used to Lu Feng's surprise inspections, so they quickly lined up to wait for Lu Feng's arrival. The only thing they didn't expect was that when Lu Feng appeared, he also brought 3 other familiar faces with him. Although these 3 people he doesn't get along with other soldiers, but he is still a brother under the same roof.